Back out comes Shadow Magnizone looking for the full spark down, and we get it. Magnizone now absolutely loaded. The opponent still has one shield remaining, going for the mirror shot bait. The opponent shields the bait, we get the debuff that allows us to survive the counters, making the wild charge. This is resisted, but Magnizone doesn't care about type-ins. Welcome back to the home of Shadow Pokemon. We're back at it again with a unique triple Shadow team that you are not going to see anywhere else. We're rocking a shiny Shadow Magnizone in the lead. This thing absolutely does not want to see Excadrill, so why not run double counter in the back? People said they wanted to see Shadow Hariyama in action, so I powered it up at a cost of another 600,000 dust. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we lead our UFO into Dragonite. Dragonite, a bit of a core breaker for the team. I throw 7 sparks, full send the wild charge. I'm going to instantly pivot into Hariyama. The opponent shields it up. They then send out Togekiss. Togekiss, obviously not what our fighter wants to see, but at least Hariyama has Heavy Slam coverage. Heavy Slam does land for respectable damage. The opponent then gets the full Charm Down, Farm Down. You hate to see it. Looking at the health on this Togekiss, a Pokemon I like to call Togepiss because I absolutely hate this stupid fluffy cloud is in a range where Magnizone can shield once and spark farm all the way down. The opponent throws the ancient power and of course they get the boost. Dragonite does win CMP, however we've got back-to-back wild charges locked and loaded. The opponent only has one shield remaining. I'm going to shield up the obvious Dragon Claw bait and return fire with the wild charge. The question is, does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. We simul swap. It's Machamp into Primarina. Things are looking pretty rough, however we throw the Stone Edge on the CMP tie. If this lands, it's going to rock Primarina. The opponent shows no respect, and just like that, we found a win con. Primarina takes us out with the disarming voice. Magnizone comes back in, gets the spark farm down, back out comes Dragonite. We've got the back-to-back mirror shots locked and loaded. The first one gets the shield, the second one is going to knock out, and double fighting beats double fairy. You heard it here first. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see Haxorus in the lead, a Pokemon that beats the entirety of my team. I say switch into Hariyama, and the opponent answers with a Waterfall Primarina. Again, Heavy Slam, decent coverage. It hits this fairy, water typing for neutral. The opponent shields the first, however Hariyama does make the second. It looks like the opponent is committing to the full Waterfall farm down, however Hariyama has done a whole heap of work getting them into the red. I'm going to send back out Magnizone, hoping the opponent doesn't make the Hydro Pump and then commit to the full Spark farm down. The opponent throws the disarming voice and Magnizone easily shrugs that off. Haxorus will be returning. They come out. At worst, this can be a Night Slash. Magnizone will survive, but ouch, that hurts. The opponent gets the boost. Holy smokes. Machamp going to be firing off the cross chop instantly. The opponent, dick riding the boost, chooses to commit a shield. This is actually a Dragon Tail Haxorus, so we're getting absolutely eaten alive. We shield up the breaking swipe. The opponent sends out Mamoswine, and the opponent, dick riding that boost, is going to cost them this game. Machamp, even debuff, does huge damage. Magnizone just can come in, shield up the avalanche. All we need to do now is farm up to the back-to-back mirror shots. One will be taking care of this mammoth, and the second one is going to take care of Haxorus. So the moral of the story is going to be, just because you get the boost, don't fucking shield. GG's and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, Gyarados. Absolutely what we do want to see. The opponent switches out into Metagross, and I answer with Shadow Machamp. Shadow Machamp does win the one shield at level 40. However, I have found out at level 50 we apparently don't. I shield up the Meteor Mash, over farm, fire off the cross chop. You're going to see that Metagross is really thick at level 50. I am going to throw the next cross chop, looking to force a shield just before the opponent reaches the next Meteor Mash. I attempted to counter farm down. They would make the Meteor Mash at 1 HP and a dream. Back out comes Gyarados, and you already know I'm rocking that Legacy Stone Edge. Does the opponent shield? Boo, Mr. Opponent. I was anticipating the no shield as we've got Magnizone, but the opponent smartly shielded up the Stone Edge. They throw the Aqua Tail. They're continuing to stay in. I am going to fire off the wild charge. There's no point in baiting, as if the opponent calls it, we'll be in shambles. The opponent commits that shield, and I'm going to put it all on Hariyama. Aqua Tail takes us out. In comes Hariyama. The opponent continuing to stay in. Hariyama, pretty thick, will easily tank a move. The opponent then switches out into Mamoswine, and it's going to be hi Mamoswine, bye Mamoswine, get fucking wrecked. Back out comes Gyarados, and Hariyama's going to sweep the back line. You love to see it. My 600,000 investment looking alright if I'm honest. Moving on to the next battle. We see an interesting lead. Magnizone into Metagross. We do resist the bullet punches. We do resist the meteor mash. However, it does quite a lot of damage. I throw the wild charge. One before the earthquake. I pivot out into Hariyama looking to catch. We don't catch. So we're now going to have to tank the meteor mash. Hariyama does tank it. But we almost get one shot. The opponent then sends out Dragonite. Commit to the full Dragon Breath farm down. And again, we're looking rough. I think the main reason we don't see Magnizone too often in MLP is that Excadrill is absolutely everywhere and it's such a bad matchup. And also Dragonite got access to superpower. However, I did manage to land the wild charge. So at this stage, I'm just going to allow Magnizone to go down. The opponent just fires off a Dragon Claw. Even debuffed, we survive. Magnizone makes the mirror shot. Mirror shot does secure the knockout and it's now time for Machamp. Machamp has shield advantage. I'll definitely be shielding up this meteor mash. I don't fancy getting one shot. The opponent now sends out Rhyperior. This looks very doable. I'm going to throw the cross chop. The opponent still has one protect shield remaining. The first one draws the shield. We fire off the second one on the CMP tie. Does this do enough to knock out? No, the opponent just about survives on 1 HP and a dream. However, we can shield up the surf, commit to the counter farm down, and we are going to be able to outpace this returning Metagross to the cross chop. Cross chop won't be enough to knock out. However, I think maybe one more counter afterwards should get the job done, or two, and Machamp manages to sweep. Moving on to the next one. And here's the reason people don't run Magnizone. We see the instant pivot into Hariyama and the opponent sends out Togekiss. Yikes. Heavy Slam gonna do about 50% of the HP. The opponent actually shields up, wanting to maintain alignment. I'll take that, although I still don't think we're going to win this game. Let's find out. I'm going to come into Magnizone. I can't Spark Farm this all the way down, and I'm actually going to be forced to respect the Flamethrower or Aura Spear. The opponent throws the Flamethrower. Magnizone can now come in, over farm heavily. I'm going to fire off the Mirror Shot. Mirror Shot probably won't knock out, but I will get the full Spark Farm down afterwards. The opponent doesn't make another move. I'm spamming out into Machamp. The opponent's got Gyarados in the back. And I always say, never fucking bait. However, I absolutely fancy the opponent's shield and I shield up the Aqua Tail. I'm going to throw the cross chop after one counter for the correct fast move timing. I really need the opponent to shield. The opponent does shit their pants. Shielding up, Machamp now outpaces to the Stone Edge. And you already know Stone Edge is going to be one shot in. Back out comes Excadrill. The opponent is going to fire off energy before my switch timer pops up. And this is where I make a huge misplay. Mirror Shot is single resisted, Wild Charge is double resisted. However, Mirror Shot is a shit move, so I should have actually went double Wild Charge. I'm going to fire off the Wild Charge now as it does do more damage, but the opponent's going to survive on about 3 HP. They survive the next 2 sparks and we lose a heartbreaking game. So the correct play there would have been to throw the 2 double resisted Wild Charges that they do objectively more damage. Moving on to the next one. We see a great lead. Magnizone into Gyarados. I think Gyarados is probably the most common lead. However, ironically, when I was running Magnizone, I didn't see all that many. The opponent say switches into Metagross and I answer with Machamp. I'm going to fire off the cross shot. The opponent lets it go, so I'm going to fire off the next one. Before the opponent has the chance to make the meteor mash, the opponent chooses to completely sack Metagross. Back out comes Gyarados and you already know I'm full sending it. Does this opponent respect the damage? They do not, get absolutely wrecked. The opponent snipes with Mamoswine. They probably think their Mammoth looking pretty good as they've got the counter user out of the way. Well, surprise, meet counter user number 2. I'm just going to shield up the Avalanche. The opponent still has 2 shields. I'm just going to commit to fast moving down the remainder of the team. And the opponent dies with 2 shields. Moving on to the next one. We see Waterfall Primarina. Shout out to my factions teammate, Homeslice Henry, who did popularise this thing. It also had a spotlight hour recently, so it is obtainable. The opponent is staying in, so I imagine they're going to be ABA weak, as Henry's team was the ABA weak. I'm just going to continually fire off mirror shots. The opponent is already all shields down. I'm going to shield up the disarming voice. The opponent brings out Snorlax. I bank the wild charge for later and send out Hariyama. The opponent at the superpower. Gonna rock Hariyama. Snorlax, usually the big thick boy, but Hariyama absolutely dwarfing this big bear. We fire off the superpower, massive overkill. Back out comes Primarina and Hariyama still not done, making one more superpower for the road. This gets Primarina deep into the red. I'm going to now send out Shadow Machamp, looking to get a running start on energy. I'm going to shield up the disarming voice commit to the counter farm down. This is why I run Stone Edge on my Shadow Machamp. The opponent has a Togekiss in the back. Stone Edge, going to absolutely rock this fluffy cloud. I'm going to combo play into Magnizone. Unfortunately, I forgot which side the Wild Charge was on, but even Mirror Shot enough to take that game. Big yikes, another Excadrill. Let's see if we can manage to overcome this rough lead. Again, the opponent sends out Primarina, and this one is actually on Charm. Heavy Slam, gonna do a decent amount of damage, but this opponent far smarter than the other one, knowing they don't need to shield. So with hard loss lead, with hard loss swap, we haven't managed to gain ourselves shield advantage. Shadow Machamp's got a whole heap of work to do. I am going to fire off the Mirror Shot, looking to get rid of this thing, and then I'm going to spam out into Machamp. Back out comes Excadrill. I'm going to fire off the Mirror Shot to stall out my timer, and then it's time for Shadow Machamp. We come into Machamp. The opponent sends out Metagross. This is Shadow Metagross. This definitely is doable. However, look at this bullet punch damage. My Machamp is getting absolutely shredded. We fire off the cross chop. The opponent going to be firing off the Meteor Mash. I need to start shielding absolutely everything. Machamp needs to make 2 more cross chops. We're almost there. This cross chop's either going to knock out or force the final shield. The opponent commits that final shield and I'm throwing instantly. I need to keep all the HP I can possibly keep on Machamp. Back out comes Excadrill. The opponent farms up to the back-to-back. The only win con at this stage is switch timer popping up and the opponent jamming the move. Just like that, I anticipate the opponent throwing back-to-back. The opponent takes out my Magnizone. Machamp manages to counter farm down and absolutely fuck you, Excadrill. Moving on to the next one. Again, we see Dragonite in the lead. I'm actually going to go for the Mirror Shot bait this time. As the last one did shield the Wild Charge, this opponent does shield and we pivot out into Hariyama. The opponent looking to get off some chip damage on our big fat fighter. The opponent fires off the Dragon Claw. That does a lot of damage. The opponent then makes a savage catch, catching the Heavy Slam onto Gyarados. This Gyarados is going to get a huge waterfall farm down. However, Hariyama makes a superpower, which is going to nicely reduce the HP on Gyarados. The opponent does waterfall farm us all the way down. I'm going to wait out my timer, send in Magnizone. We can tank any one move. The opponent fires off at Aqua Tail, which gets us pretty low. I'm going to attempt to spark farm them all the way down. We get the full spark farm down. The opponent sends back out Dragonite. They're pretty much in Wild Charge range now. I shield up the Dragon Claw. Full send the Wild Charge. Does the opponent commit that final shield? Yes, they do. And it's now time for Machamp. I'm going to be forced to shield up the Dragon Claw, or I'm just going to get too low. The opponent fires off the Dragon Claw. I need to throw the Stone Edge. The opponent attempts to catch on Excadrill. I hold my energy, fire off the cross shot one before the opponent makes the drill run. When Dragonite does return, we're going to outpace to the Stone Edge and Machamp manages to sweep once again. GG's and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle. We need Shadow Magnizone into Shiny Metagross. The battle of the Shinies. When it's night time and you're using Magnizone, you can pretty much hardly see the opponent. This opponent doesn't shield the Wild Charge. We look to snipe with Hariyama. The opponent throws the Earthquake. They then pivot out into Gyarados. We don't make the superpower, which is pretty heartbreaking. However, this is a Dragon Breath variant of the Gyarados. And again, the opponent repping a Shiny. Very nice. We can easily tank any one move. The opponent goes to the crunch, fishing for the debuff. You can see just how squishy we are. As holy crap, Dragon Breath still doing a lot despite our steel subtype, and the opponent shields the Wild Charge. We're at the back-to-back. I'm going to send the next one and then hope Shadow Machamp again can sweep. I'm spamming out into Machamp. The opponent sends out Metagross. Metagross gets counter farm down. The opponent's final Pokemon is their own Machamp. Nice to see an opponent repping a fighter. However, down shields and behind energy, the opponent in a rough spot. I'm going to fire off the cross chop. If the opponent shields this up, you already know what time it is. The opponent does shield it up, and I'm going to show the opponent what second move they should be running. I throw the BM Stone Edge. Stone Edge is resisted, but still good enough to take this game. GG's and thanks for playing. Let's keep the battles rolling. Magnizone into Mamoswine. 2 better response in the back. I say switch into Hariyama, and the opponent sends out a Waterfall Gyarados. I'm going to throw the superpower. 2 superpowers do get this thing into the red. The opponent lets go of the first, so we're going to fire off the second. The opponent is going to look to waterfall farm me all the way down. However, you can see, holy crap, that's pretty close in the 0 shields. despite us only hitting the resisted the entirety of the time. Due to Gyarados' water flying type and they might actually be in one spark range, the opponent fires off the Aqua Tail. Unfortunately, one spark doesn't knock out. The opponent is going to reach the second Aqua Tail, which does huge damage to our Magnizone. However, I'm spamming out into Machamp again, hoping our second fighter can sweep the back line. The opponent has ABA things weak to fight in. Oh, hello, trainer. Machamp has a whole heap of work to do, but it's so oppressive. The opponent still has 2 shields, so the fast moves are going to start adding up. I fire off the cross chop. The opponent lets it go. Back out comes Mamoswine. I am going to invest my final Protect Shield here. The opponent now 6 Powder Snows away from the next Avalanche. I fire off the next cross chop. The opponent is going to invest the first Protect Shield. They're now 2 away. I'm going to throw the next cross chop and pivot out into Magnizone, forcing the opponent to throw. They throw on the CMP tie. Great play from the opponent. However, the oppressive Shadow Machamp, who's deep in the red, still going to have enough in the tank to counter farm down and take that game. Great lead Magnizone into Haxorus. Yikes, dreadful save switch. We've got no response whatsoever for Haxorus, so fire off the mirror shot. The opponent shields it up and we get an attack drop, which is pretty favourable. However, the opponent going to return the favour, lowering our own attack. We reach the superpower on the CMP tie. I'm not going to shield this up. Breaking swipe doesn't knock out. I'm really hoping this superpower 2-stage attack drop does enough to knock out. It doesn't. Can we counter farm down? No, the opponent does survive. And now we're in huge trouble. We have shield advantage, however Machamp not going to appreciate the charm damage. Back out comes Togekiss. I'm going to full send the Stone Edge, looking to force the final shield off the opponent. Stone Edge does get the final Protect Shield. We spam out into Magnizone. The opponent has Gyarados in the back. I'm going to farm up as much energy as I physically can. Wild Charge will be one-shotting Gyarados. We're 1 spark away from the next Wild Charge, and Magnizone massively bails me out to take another dub. Thank you very much, Mr. Magnizone. And a nice 2-shield flex. Moving on to the next one. Another Metagross in the lead. I always throw the Wild Charge on 9, which is 1 before the opponent reaches the Earthquake. We lose CMPs. We do need to throw before. The opponent lets it go. We come into Hariyama. The opponent shows great discipline, holding their energy, and then answer with a Gary. We've seen throughout this video this isn't actually the worst matchup in the world, despite the unfavourable typing. I'm looking to get off the back-to-back superpowers. However, I'm so low. Do we survive that Dragon Breath? Yes, we do. The second superpower is going to get him deep into the red. The opponent now Dragon Breath farms us all the way down. I'm going to wait out my full timer, come into Magnizone, commit to the full spark farm down. The opponent isn't going to make another move. The opponent's final Pokemon is Haxorus, and fuck it, I'm going to YOLO the Wild Charge. Wild Charge does draw a shield and we spam out into Machamp. This is a really tricky spot. I'm going to shield up the breaking swipe. I know the opponent's going to look to combo play at some stage. I'm just going to continue to farm up energy. The opponent again going to throw a breaking swipe. I am going to shield this up. I anticipate the switch. After a charge move, the opponent does get a 0-turn switch. They manage to take me out, throwing the Earthquake. The opponent is now going to get spark farmed all the way down Magnizone, looking to throw the bait. Mirror shot won't knock out the opponent. Commits that final shield. We're then going to survive the counters with the attack drop. We make the Wild Charge. Wild Charge is resisted, but Magnizone doesn't give a shit about type-ins. And we win a very close game. The dreaded Mole. We see the pivot into Hariyama, and again the opponent answers with Gary. I believe it's actually a legacy Dragon Tail Gary. It's really hard to see because Hariyama's big fat head makes it really hard to see what the opponent's doing. We tank the Aqua Tail, throw the superpower. Superpower does land. We make the second superpower again. Hariyama making the mid game fairly close. The opponent then Dragon Tail farms us all the way down. We're going to send back out Magnizone, commit to the full spark farm down. Then it's going to be time for Shadow Machamp and pray. The opponent fires off the crunch. I snipe with Machamp to get a running start on energy. The opponent thinking about what they want to come in with. Please be ABA weak. The opponent sends out Mamoswine. Let's go. If you're wondering just how oppressive Shadow Machamp is, well, watch this. The opponent has 2 Protect Shields remaining, so I've got no intention of throwing any charge moves whatsoever. I'm just going to shield up the Drill Run, Excadrill gonna get punched into oblivion. The mole gets absolutely smashed in the face. Back out comes Mamoswine, and that gets beat down as well. Let's go. Hello Dragonite, the common lead we love to see. Do I bait or do I wild charge? Apparently I'm going for the bait. Let's see if this opponent calls it. Magnizone, absolute fear factor, coming in clutch. The opponent farms up well past the superpower, and I'm going to call the bait. The opponent does bait me with a Dragon Claw, so this time I'm full sending the wild charge. We get a frame drop, which means we miss a bubble. However, the opponent shields anyway, so I suppose it doesn't matter. I then send out Hariyama to operate as the damage sponge. The opponent this time throws a superpower and then come into Metagross. I know Metagross is going to farm me all the way down, so I throw the superpower soon as I get it, minimising the farm the opponent can get. We have a 2-0 shield advantage, so I think I'm just going to come into Magnizone, force the opponent to expend energy. Magnizone, thank you very much for your contribution, but Machamp is the king of closer. Come into Machamp. I am going to have to shield once, however we will have a whole heap of energy. If you see Dragonite in the lead and Metagross on the say switch, you can bet your mortgage it being Excadrill in the back. The opponent sends out Excadrill. They then attempt to catch a cross chop on Dragonite, however Dragonite eat the Stone Edge. Back out comes Excadrill and they concede the match. GG's and thanks for playing. Another Haxorus lead, you hate to see it. And again the opponent has a Togekiss in the back. This really isn't what you want to see when you're running this absolutely random ass team. We land the heavy slam for decent damage. The opponent then commits to the full charm down, farm down. I can return with Magnizone. I've either got to throw the mirror shot immediately or shield once. I think I'm going to shield once and commit to the full spark farm down, hoping to gain myself some kind of advantage. We've got a whole heap of energy, so likelihood is when Haxorus does return, they're likely to shield. The opponent sends out Excadrill. I spam in to Machamp. I'm going to be forced to shield this up. However, down 2 shields, I think it's just going to be game over. The opponent sends out Haxorus and they're just going to start shielding everything. We throw the cross chop. The opponent, to my surprise, lets it go. If the opponent's looking to 2 shield flex, they're going to be sad as Machamp absolutely isn't going to tolerate that. We make the second cross chop. The opponent going to be forced to shield this up. At least I don't get 2 shield flexed on. The opponent does counter farm me all the way down. I'm just going to let them take up my Magnizone and gracefully concede the match. GG's to that opponent. That team comp far too rough for mine. In the next battle, we see another Excadrill. Yikes. I say switch into Hariyama. The opponent answers from Machamp. I don't want to debuff myself before the opponent lightly throws the cross shot, but this is absolute comedy gold. The opponent YOLOs the close combat. I get absolutely wrecked. Huge respect to this opponent, as that did make me chuckle. I love to get nuked and land nuked, and this opponent definitely was not baiting. I'm definitely going to have to shield up. The next close combat, Machamp is going to leave down a shield with a whole heap of energy. The opponent sends out Gyarados, and I'm going to YOLO my own nuke. Does the opponent shield the Stone Edge? No, they do shield, so I pivot out into Magnizone. The opponent does chip me with the Aqua Tail, which is a huge misplay if I'm being perfectly honest, as they've got Excadrill that can one-shot me. I'm going to fire off the mirror shot. However, the opponent can probably mud shot farm me all the way down. The opponent actually throws energy. Trainer, you're actually giving me a wink on. Come on, Machamp, do your thing. I am going to have to shield this up. Commit to the counter farm down, and then the only wink on is landing the Stone Edge. Machamp does leave loaded. We are pretty low. I'm going to go for the bait, as the opponent probably thinks we can't reach the nuke. I throw the cross shot. The opponent does shield. Machamp on minimal HP reaches the Stone Edge, and despite the opponent throwing a very nice nuke in the mid game, I think they played really poorly. So the 2 misplays they made there is you didn't need to throw the energy on Gyarados. They could have banked it with whatever I had in the back, which is obviously Machamp, and they could have just farmed me down with Excadrill. However, getting into the next battle, the opponent led Mamoswine into my Magnizone. I pivoted out into Hariyama. The opponent safe switched into Snorlax to then bring him back out Mamoswine. Holy crap, you're surely not triple weak to fight in. Hariyama is pretty much running through this opponent's team. It's deleted 2 Pokemon and took a shield. Avalanche takes me out. I come into Machamp. I can shield once and farm all the way down. The opponent only going to reach 1 move, so they full send the high horsepower. It's Excadrill in the back, and that's going to be check and mate. So those were the battles with Shadow Magnizone, double fighter. People did request to see Shadow Hariyama in action, so I did power it up at a cost of 600,000 dust. So if you appreciate that huge investment, smash that like button. If you're enjoying the content and you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching and good luck on your Go Battle weekend. I'll see you all in the next one.